Welcome to the Gay Therapy LA podcast, the show that empowers gay men to live their fullest, healthiest lives. Whether you're navigating relationships, mental health, intimacy, finances, career, or personal growth, Ken Howard, a licensed clinical social worker in California, certified psychiatric social worker, and ASEC certified sex therapist, is here to guide you with over 30 years of experience, specializing in gay male individuals, couples, and polycules. As the founder of gaytherapyla.com and gaycoachingla.com. And now, today's episode.
Hi, I'm Ken Howard, and welcome to the Gay Therapy LA podcast. Today, I'd like to talk about gay executive coaching and the dark side of ambition, navigating toxic competition in the workplace. I primarily serve as a licensed psychotherapist in California who has specialized in working with gay men as individuals or in relationships for over 32 years now in 2025. I'm also a nationally certified ASEC sex therapist, but I also do quite a bit of coaching for gay men: life, relationship, sexual education and empowerment, financial, career, and executive for gay men all over the United States and all over the world. So in my role as an executive coach for gay men, I support the balance between the intrinsic rewards of doing work that you love with the extrinsic rewards of making a good living economically, what I call making a living while making a difference. So gay male executives work with me on a number of topics, such as self-care, staff relations, boundaries, ethical issues, motivating the self and others, productivity, and work-life balance, among others. Another topic is navigating what is usually a very competitive economic market. No matter what field you're in, you're making your contributions while usually a competing person or professional or organization or company is making their contributions. And while abundance thinking dictates that there's enough to go around, there's enough customers, there's enough business, we only need to look at the world-famous rivalry between Coke and Pepsi to have an illustration that competition is a fact of life in business, in the global economy, for whatever market share, and in that case, the beverage consuming public that they're competing for market share for. So in most countries, but especially pronounced in the United States as a value system, ambition and competition are often heralded as key drivers of success in the business world. For gay men in professional spaces, these dynamics are layered with unique challenges shaped by societal expectations, internalized biases, cultural narratives around masculinity and success, the idea of toxic masculinity versus a more positive masculine energy balanced with women in the workplace. So while healthy competition can inspire innovation and excellence, raising the bar in any field, it can also become toxic, leading to fractured relationships and underhanded tactics in business and an atmosphere of mistrust. So drawing on my experience as a therapist and executive coach and career counselor specializing in gay men's professional lives, I've seen firsthand how toxic competition can impact careers and businesses and mental health. And additionally, my background includes 10 years as an executive in the nonprofit sector, specializing in AIDS service organizations and mental health. I've worked in the private, the public, and the nonprofit sectors, gaining a diverse perspective on organizational structures and dynamics. Before transitioning to full-time private practice, I was also an adjunct associate professor at the University of Southern California, the Suzanne Dworak Peck School of Social Work, teaching courses on leadership and mental health and LGBTQ+ issues. So these varied experiences inform my approach to both coaching and therapy, allowing me to offer practical strategies rooted in long-term real-world expertise by working with, hundreds or thousands of gay men at this point. So today's discussion explores how toxic competition manifests and its consequences and strategies for building healthier, more collaborative professional environments. Executive coaching in particular offers powerful tools to address these challenges and transform personal lives. Let's talk about the role of executive coaching in transforming professional dynamics. So, executive coaching provides a structured and individualized approach to address the unique challenges gay men face in professional settings. It goes beyond resolving conflicts. It empowers clients to develop strategies for growth and collaboration and cultivating resilience. So, here are some core areas where coaching makes a significant impact. Number one is navigating workplace biases and challenges. So, gay men often encounter stereotypes in the workplace, such as being perceived as soft or lacking the traditional masculinity often associated with key leadership roles. These biases can lead to being overlooked for promotions or excluded from key projects or excluded from social events like happy hours or golf games or something with the straight men, not being given a voice in group projects, or not being taken seriously in high-stakes discussions, especially about finance or staffing. So such stereotypes not only undermine professional opportunities, but also reinforce systemic barriers to leadership for gay men. Gay men can often face barriers and glass ceiling dynamics that we more often hear about women or people of color. So through coaching, I help clients address these challenges by identifying and addressing systemic biases in their workplaces, by developing assertive communication skills to advocate for their qualifications and leadership potential, and building resilience to counteract the negative effects of workplace stereotypes. So by fostering self-confidence and strategic thinking, coaching equips gay men to thrive despite these obstacles. Number two is embracing authenticity. One of the greatest challenges for gay male professionals is balancing the need to conform to workplace norms with the desire to be authentic. The studies have shown that hiding one's sexual orientation or covering can lead to diminished job satisfaction and increased psychological distress. That was the research by Reagans in 2007. But conversely, authenticity, rooted in personal values and strengths, leads to higher levels of engagement and career satisfaction. So executive coaching sessions often focus on helping you define your core values and align your career with these principles, building communication skills to share your authentic self effectively, and exploring ways to build authenticity with a professional image management. And that can be anything from how you talk to how you dress. So by embracing their authentic selves, gay men can break free from toxic competition and instead build careers that reflect their individuality and their talents and their unique contributions to the mission of the organization. So number three is developing emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence, or EI, refers to the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions while effectively navigating and influencing the emotions of others. In the workplace, EI is essential for building strong collaborative relationships and resolving conflicts and fostering a collaborative and productive environment. Research by Goldman in 1988 indicated that EI is a stronger predictor of success than IQ or technical expertise, particularly in leadership roles. For gay men who may face additional stressors related to identity, EI can be transformative. Emotional intelligence is a critical skill for navigating workplace dynamics. So in coaching, we focus on developing EI through cultivating self-awareness, understanding what your personal triggers are in your value system and your emotional patterns that are a part of your personality that tend to be consistent over a career in any number of job roles. Through empathy, building stronger relationships by understanding others' perspectives. Even when you don't agree with them, you can seek to understand their perspective in some detail. Validating other points of view, but also negotiating boundaries and wielding influence. Effective communication, learning how to navigate conflicts and advocate for one's needs, both at the individual professional role level or on behalf of others in your department or your organizational section level, and also on your personal work balance level. Developing EI not only enhances professional performance, but it also strengthens all interpersonal relationships at work and at home. Number 4 is cultivating leadership skills. So leadership often requires navigating complex team dynamics, managing diverse personalities. And I've written before in a 3-part blog article series about how psychiatrically diagnosable personality disorders, we all know about personality disorders, narcissistic, borderline, histrionic, all of those, how they can manifest in the workplace. And if you go to gaytherapyla.com/blog and just search on something like personality disorders, it'll come up. So gaytherapyla.com/blog. And it's a 3-part series that goes into what the different personality disorders are and how they manifest. And as I say in those articles, people with personality disorders get jobs. So you probably can see bona fide diagnosable personality disorders represented in just about any workplace organization. So within that, there are ways to foster collaboration and also demonstrate leadership in making and cutting and changing both staff and financial resources. A lot of management roles or leadership roles really are imbuing and empowering that individual with high stakes responsibility, which usually has to do with staff and human resources, managing people, or it's about managing money or strategies around either making money for the organization. Even a nonprofit would make money through charitable development, or saving money. There are mechanisms all about saving money in a company, not just bringing in new revenue and sales. So for gay men, stepping into leadership roles may feel particularly daunting in environments that have historically excluded LGBTQ plus voices or voices of minority groups in general, women, Black and Indigenous people of color, all kinds of minority groups. And some organizations are known for being more diverse than others. And these days we've had diversity, equity, and inclusion in recent years, and then now we've had a backlash against that politically, where companies are retreating from that in order to appease more conservative, white, male, conservative cultural dynamics. So the cultural dynamics in a workplace shift, even in terms of policy. Companies that previously supported pride events, and some of them no longer do, which alienates, of course, their LGBT client base or their own employees, but it also aligns with more conservative voices that have power and influence at any given time. So executive coaching helps clients identify their leadership style and strengths. Everybody's different, unique. It helps you to build confidence to take on high visibility roles. Feel the fear and do it anyway. It's okay to have butterflies in your stomach about, oh boy, can I really do this? There's a little bit of fake it till you make it with this stuff, and having confidence to follow through is probably as important as, what you're actually doing. It also helps develop strategies for inclusive leadership that fosters team cohesion. There's a way to foster team cohesion in the approach, even the attitude that you take. Just wanting there to be team cohesion goes a long way toward achieving it. Leadership coaching also emphasizes ethical practices, ensuring that clients model the collaborative and respectful behaviors that they wish to see from their own team members, leading by example. Number 5 is reframing competition as inspiration. So while competition can become toxic, we'll talk about that in a second, it can also serve as a source of inspiration when approached with the right mindset. Healthy competition pushes professionals to innovate or refine their skills or embrace and apply new technologies, which of course are always emerging, and achieve their full potential. There's a saying, if you're a track runner, you will run faster if you're running against somebody running right beside you, trying to race you, than you would if you were running on that track alone. So the key is to focus on your own self-improvement rather than just comparison. But you want to be aware of what competition is doing because they might be catching a trend, kind of catching a wave like a surfer might ride into the shore. So through executive coaching, I help clients shift their focus from just outperforming others, kind of in a rat race, to excelling within their own goals and trying to fulfill their own idealized vision of their ideal professional self according to their own set of values. So this involves setting personalized career benchmarks based on individual aspirations. It could be title, it could be salary, it could be setting, it could be function. Celebrating milestones and achievements without minimizing others' successes. It's kind of celebrating your own and others. And creating a vision for long-term growth that prioritizes personal fulfillment over just external validation. A lot of guys are in jobs that they can't stand, but they pay well, and they just kind of put up with it. And I think that's kind of existentially a miserable existence, going back to the making a living while making a difference. And you have to have, I think, an abundance thinking that you can do what you want within reason and still achieve quite a bit of economic comfort. There's some compromise in that, I admit. The people that I know, whether clients or personal friends, the ones who have the biggest house in the best neighborhood or whatever, some of them have a dry aspect to what they're doing where, it's not the most exciting, but it is lucrative and it's reasonably interesting. It's interesting enough that they can get up and go to work every day without being miserable. Others are miserable, in which case they need maybe even a midlife career change, while others are from the get-go, which is more of what I've done, is to have a mission about what you really find the most fulfilling. And then you create a professional identity around that, a functional role, and then, of course, the organization that you're in. What social workers call the person and environment theory. You are the person and everything that you are intrapsychically, but then you put yourself in certain environments. And some environments are a better goodness of fit than others. I enjoyed being on my own in private practice a lot more than I did working for nonprofits, which I found kind of tedious and sometimes corrupt, which is another whole story. But the goodness of fit is really a consideration about in what kind of environment do you thrive? You're a fish, so what kind of water do you best swim in? So a minute ago, I mentioned competition can become toxic. Let's talk about, unfortunately, some of the underhanded tactics in gay male professional spaces. Now, they're in all professional spaces, but we're talking about gay men today. So let's examine some of the unfortunate and underhanded tactics I've either observed myself or had clients discuss with me. So let's look at what these are for each one, and then their impact, and then their solution. So these are some of the most common, but there's probably more. So number 1 is stealing intellectual property. In tight-knit professional communities, the free exchange of ideas, whether business strategies or creative concepts or marketing innovations, is vital. However, this openness can sometimes lead to exploitation. Instances of intellectual property theft, such as appropriating a colleague's business idea or creative work approach without acknowledgement, are common. Think of music plagiarism. There's been in the news, lawsuits that one person's song is a little too reminiscent of another person's song, and they end up having to negotiate a split in the song's royalties. Because, music, just like literature, a lot of things are copyright protected. So what's the impact of stealing intellectual property? For gay professionals whose networks often rely on trust and mutual support as a minority group, this can erode relationships and discourage collaboration. It undermines the sense of community that is essential for resilience against broader societal discrimination. So what's the solution? You protect your ideas with things like contracts and copyrights and agreements while fostering ethical practices. Coaching sessions often include guidance on how to set boundaries and safeguard intellectual property. Number 2 is taking credit for others' work. In fields where visibility is paramount, such as media or marketing or the arts, it can be tempting for some to claim credit for others' contributions to gain recognition in the eyes of the consumer public. So what's the impact? This behavior can lead to resentment and diminished collaboration and fractured networks in small, interconnected communities, such as in smaller towns or cities, or in larger cities, but in niche markets. So what's the solution? We foster transparency and mutual respect by clearly acknowledging contributions in all projects, just as a matter of habit. My career counseling sessions often focus on teaching clients how to establish clear boundaries and effectively advocate for their contributions in group settings. Leadership coaching also emphasizes modeling ethical behavior to inspire trust and integrity within your teams. Some of it's very subtle, like in other podcast episodes, you've probably heard me say a quote that I'm attributing to a colleague. Like when I talk about gay men as tops and bottoms or sides, the term side, which is now part of our vernacular, was coined by Dr. Joe Court in the Detroit area. And he's a longtime colleague and kind of contemporary to me in the gay men's mental health field. But whenever I mention, side, I always like to attribute Joe because he worked hard to coin that and promote it and cultivate it among other original ideas that are a part of his writing. Or I'll also attribute quotes to inspirational authors, like Louise Hay or Jack Canfield or the others that I've gotten inspiration from. But just like you would do a citation in an academic paper, you can also do that in things like a staff meeting, where you say, Jose gave me an idea the other day that I thought was brilliant. I would like for us to consider as a team that we do such and so. Giving credit where credit is due. And that fosters team building and respect and kind of an esprit de corps. Number 3 is exaggerating skills to mimic a competitor. So some gay men, particularly those newer to their own fields, may feel pressured to fake it till they make it. And this can lead to exaggerating their experience or their credentials to compete with more established and seasoned professionals. So while the intent may be to fit into spaces dominated by more seasoned peers, it often backfires when this expertise is tested. So what's the impact? This behavior can alienate older or more experienced gay professionals who may feel disrespected when their long-term hard-earned expertise is downplayed or dismissed or devalued. It also perpetuates a cycle of superficiality that undermines growth and mentorship opportunities within the community. So what's the solution? Newer professionals should focus on highlighting their unique perspectives and willingness to learn rather than just emulating or even mimicking others. Experienced professionals can help by fostering mentorship and supporting younger colleagues' development, just as they probably received support from older professionals when they were young professionals themselves. Number 4 is stalking competitors' moves. So while competition or competitive research is normal, excessive monitoring of the competition, such as replicating their marketing strategies, mimicking their marketing content in ads or social media or design, plagiarizing website text or direct mail content or email marketing content, or even actively poaching their clients to undermine them, can cross a lot of ethical boundaries. The impact of this is that it fosters antagonism and undermines potential collaboration, again, turning allies into adversaries. So the solution is the focus on collaboration, because collaboration often yields better results than a rivalry. This is not dating myself, but this is not Alexis Carrington Colby and Crystal Harrington. It's in coaching, I help clients transition from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset, recognizing that shared success often leads to greater opportunities for everyone, especially in some kind of a niche market or some kind of targeted area, kind of a pooled expertise. Particularly in mental health, where mental health needs public relations, because mental health services are still denigrated. Even therapy can be stigmatized by some. If you go to therapy, you need your head examined. There's less stigma now than there used to be, but there's still a stigma. And so coaches, mental health professionals, wellness professionals, we all need to kind of support each other, because we're promoting the idea of accessing self-care services to the general public. Number 5 is very similar, pretending to be more experienced than you actually are. So some gay men may feel compelled to present themselves as more accomplished than they truly are, especially in industries where visibility and image and self-promotion and shrewd public relations are critical. This often happens in an effort to gain credibility in spaces where they feel their identity or their background might otherwise be a disadvantage. It's often this form over substance. We see this in social media all the time, that form over substance business. So the impact of this is that this tactic can alienate older gay professionals who may feel their hard-earned experiences being dismissed by younger arrivals who haven't paid their dues or cultivated skill sets and longevity and specificity of experience. They want to bypass the growth process and just land on top of the heap without earning the same credentials or efforts that others went through. And it also creates a culture of distrust where authenticity is replaced by a performative competition. So what's the solution? Gay men in business should celebrate their unique journeys, whether as emerging professionals with fresh training from things like graduate programs or colleges or technical training, with seasoned experts. Highlighting authenticity and focus on building genuine expertise fosters trust and long-term success. There's often a balance in the workplace between younger and older, because younger professionals are coming out of school programs where fresh research would have been part of their textbooks or their lectures or their papers. So that's kind of the latest and greatest best practices. Whereas older professionals in the workplace have seen a lot of different problems come and go, and they've seen how so many different problems have had solutions. So it's really a combination of the young and the old that lifts the organization's functioning. That, along with a diversity of perspectives, gender, culture, ethnicity, nationality, all of that, particularly if you're marketing to a broad market of demographics. So number 6 is generational tensions among gay male professionals. So another layer of toxic competition arises from generational divides, millennials and baby boomers and Gen X and Gen Z. And, younger gay men entering professional spaces may inadvertently disrespect older professionals by mimicking their ideas or branding without understanding the effort and the expertise and the rationale behind them. And this lack of acknowledgement can feel dismissive to those who paved the way, creating unnecessary tension. There's even consultants. I know one who consults on generational issues in the workplace and how the different generations can speak to one another and collaborate. How does a Gen Z speak to a baby boomer and vice versa. And it's cultivating empathy, and it's also cultivating the dynamics of how these generations were raised and the values they were raised with. And most generations have some of both. They have negative aspects that mark their generation that are kind of unattractive traits. The entitlement of baby boomers who grew up in a post-war, everything handed to them, so to speak, economy, versus Gen Z, where they graduate with a PhD and they can't even afford a one-bedroom apartment in most cities in America. So there's kind of pluses and minuses to every generation. I don't know that any one generation is better than the other, but it's important to understand kind of the pluses and minuses that are characteristic broadly of every generation. So what's the impact? These dynamics discourage mentorship and collaboration between the generations. Older professionals may feel undervalued, put out to pasture, ignored, while younger ones miss out on the opportunity to learn from their predecessors, humbly, and then build on their legacy to move the industry or the field forward. There's a wealth of information in older workers because they've seen how problems in the workplace are solved. So the solution is that all generations can benefit from fostering mutual respect. Younger professionals should acknowledge the contributions of those who came before them and know what they are and know the obstacles that they had to overcome, particularly with gay men and prejudice in the workplace where you couldn't even be out until, relatively recently. While older professionals need to take some responsibility too, because they can adapt by mentoring and welcoming and supporting and incorporating new voices in a field, especially with new graduates who often have the benefit of learning fresh empirical research or modern school curricula, technological advances, and evolution of social attitudes and values, particularly with things like consumer behavior. Let's look also at another toxic element in the workplace about workplace bullying. So workplace bullying can significantly undermine the mental health and productivity and career advancements of professionals, particularly environments where power dynamics or identity-based biases are at play. For gay men, bullying often intersects with broader social stigmas, making it damaging and difficult to address. So bullying behaviors can include verbal harassment, whether overt or kind of a subtle under your breath kind of thing. Very hard to determine, but still very much present. Exclusion from certain team activities. Somehow undermining one's credibility, especially in front of others, like in a staff meeting or to a boss, or even overt hostility. Sexual or personal harassment is illegal for the perpetrator and for the perpetrator's direct managers to allow. If a legal action is brought, not only the perpetrator, but also the perpetrator's managers are on the hook. Some would say that's not fair, but at the same time, if something happens on your watch by one of your staff, you are partially responsible for it to either know or should have known what's happening in your area. So these actions create a toxic work environment, which can include a legal definition of a hostile work environment. And it stifles collaboration and innovation and personal growth. And it could prompt legal actions for damages that can be catastrophic for an organization's fiscal health. I've worked with a number of clients, both in therapy and coaching, where they've experienced workplace bullying, sometimes for being gay, other times for being the only male in an all-female environment, or being the only person of color in a white environment, or anything that kind of stands out as a trait that's somehow been targeted by a person or person for bullying or discrimination. So for gay male professionals as adults, these behaviors can trigger feelings of isolation or reinforce internalized biases, and can trigger feelings about a long history of anti-gay antipathy in our own histories, in our families, in schools and communities. And this can have, unfortunately, a very negative psychological impact. It can trigger strong psychological defenses where people have a need for revenge, or they become very depressed, or they become very withdrawn. At the very worst of it, I've seen it cause people to be suicidal because they feel trapped. So workplace bullying is a really serious topic that's starting to get more attention, and it's not always about the dominant population. It's not always men against women or straight against gay. It can be anybody who is somehow wielding power or an abuse of power in an inappropriate way. It can even be a peer organizationally, not above you as a supervisor, not below you as an employee. It can be a peer who's undermining you in kind of a sibling rivalry kind of way. Or it can be an abusive boss, like the sexually harassing boss. It can even be an undermining staff person who almost gets into, blackmail or manipulation or some kind of managing from below in a toxic way. So what are the solutions for this? Through executive coaching, I help clients navigate workplace bullying by building resilience, developing the emotional coping strategies to mitigate the psychological effects of being bullied. Through advocacy and communication, learning assertive communication techniques to address bullying directly and professionally, using the right channels of things like human resources or a board of directors or a professional association or even legal world. Establishing boundaries, identifying and enforcing clear personal and professional boundaries about conduct. Engaging allies, building networks of supportive colleagues that you trust, keyword, and mentors that can help you to counteract the isolating effects of bullying. And, referring as needed to legal resources to mitigate harm or contain perpetrator actions and even pursue damages. In LA, I've referred a number of clients to an employment attorney who has prosecuted anti-gay or anti-psychiatric or anti-HIV discrimination in the workplace and seen my clients get six-figure settlements because they have clear-cut cases. So in addition to personal strategies, coaching also focuses on organizational advocacy, encouraging clients to work with human resources or leadership to implement system-wide anti-bullying policies and to foster inclusive workplace cultures. Despite the bagging on diversity, companies still are interested a lot of times in diversity because they know that diversity helps with recruitment and retention and productivity and ultimately profitability. There's a direct line between diversity and profitability, which companies are really discovering. So by addressing toxic elements like workplace bullying head on, which is kind of like another toxic element like embezzlement or fraud or some other kind of crime, professionals can reclaim their sense of safety and focusing on achieving career goals. Everybody keeping their eye on the prize, everybody, serving the mission of the organization, everything from a school to a nonprofit to a public government office to a private for-profit corporation. So how coaching can break the cycle. Toxic competition often stems from individuals with deeper insecurities, unaddressed biases, or systemic challenges within industries. The entertainment industry is rife with, kind of erratic, neurotic behavior because the stakes are so high. Overnight, you can make or lose a fortune. You can go from being completely unrecognized to being a world-recognized star if you're an actor or a musical artist. You can go from a modest income to making tens of millions of dollars within just a couple of years. And those kinds of high stakes create a real pressure and a real competition and competitive environment that can sometimes bring out neuroses. I hear a lot about that in LA. But coaching provides a safe space, privately and in confidentiality, to explore the issues and develop actionable solutions, whether it's navigating workplace dynamics, managing conflict between you and someone else, or between maybe two people you supervise, or advancing to leadership roles over time, or Coaching equips gay male professionals with the tools that they need to succeed. It's a private service about you as a person, but it's also you as a person and your professional identity that then you go back into the workplace to implement, and nobody's the wiser. So drawing from over 30 years of experience as a gay men specialist in California and executive and career coach to gay men worldwide, usually English-speaking countries, but others too, I've seen how tailored coaching can transform careers and create more inclusive professional environments in small groups or companies. So my kind of twin practices, gaytherapyla.com and gaycoachingla.com, serve as a hub for resources and insights and support for gay men navigating both personal and professional challenges. So if you're ready to take the next step in transforming your professional life, I can help. Whether you're seeking therapy in California, where I'm licensed, or executive coaching or career counseling, if you're not even an executive, but you're cultivating your career and evolving it over time, we can tailor everything to your unique needs as a gay professional. And I offer a supportive space for growth and empowerment. So contact me, 310-339-5778, in California. That's area code 310-339-5778, or email me, ken@gaytherapyla.com, to schedule an appointment. And gaytherapyla.com and gaycoachingla.com are websites for more resources and blog articles and insights. So let's work together to build both a career and a life where you can truly thrive. Thanks. I'll see you next time.